I just want to make sure I don't get, aggregated on some local cult sites. So make sure to include this quote if you do. I'm talking out of my buttocks when I connect Aaron Rodgers to the cult. I'm just my buttocks, Buttocks. I just want to point out that the Colts are weird and they do funky stuff and they are in a tricky situation at quarterback. So just keep an eye on them.
We're dying for that to get aggregated. We need that to happen.
Smash cut to Taylon Green, week 1 starter of the Colts. Hey-o, welcome to Heed the Call, an NFL podcast. March, it comes in like a lion and out like a bear. Dan Hanzus here with Marc Sessler, of course. Justin Graver on the ones and twos. Coming out of Combine Week in Indianapolis, which means the league calendar right around the corner now is free agency, the start of the new league year. The wheel goes round and round and round, Sessy boy.
It is the kind of Monday morning where you wake up and if you're news gathering from what occurred over the last 48 hours, as you know, Dan, like that February month ends a little bit before than you thought it would.
Typically,
sometimes.
We go 30-31, but 28.
Not this time.
How about that?
It was just a storm of news and rumors and gossip, and so there's a lot to just dive into if it were a liquid surface.
And we should, before we get into the news, and there's a lot to get into, quarterback news, transactions, trades. We all love trades. No, it's not very good.
I don't think that's the weekend to bring up that impression, but that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, what? Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Right.
Like, area men do football podcast in basement while World War III takes shape.
They say he loves Trump.
I can't wait till the next rollout of Silver Hoses, Mark. That I'm sure there's going to be some real takes about it.
It has never been. There is one rolling out this week. It has never been even outside of you and Justin doing your little dog and pony show. It's never been a political rag on any level. It's been about things that anyone can agree upon.
Like, I get all of my political news from two places, the New York Post and Silver Hoses. And I feel like I'm covered. Both sides of the spectrum.
With one of them, yes.
Yeah, anyway, so let's talk a little bit what happened, what jumped out at Combine Week. But we need to bring in reinforcements. We need to bring in someone who's plugged in on everything in the NFL and on the Combine and hair products, living in Denver. How to be a likable Philadelphia sports fan, which is very difficult to pull off. Here he is, James Palmer.
Oh, man, many hats here. The last one was that's been a doozy for most of my life. You're right.
How do you do it, James? How do you, growing up a Eagles fan, Phillies fans? Now, I know, again, as a Yankees, people that don't know the United States sports scene, New York Yankees fans and Jets fans, we don't really cross-pollinate because our rivals are not the Phillies and the Eagles. It's like Mets fans from New York are going to be at odds with Phillies fans, Giants fans, and Eagles fans. So I'm just learning about this Eagles sports culture over the course of this run of great success that the Eagles have had, and it's been an eye opener for me and many others. How do you stay out? How do you stay above the muck in the mire?
I'm a professional journalist, right?
I do. I'm aware of that. Well-trained.
Facts. Yes.
Great resume. The CV is out of this world.
Yeah. So I grew up in a journalism household. My dad covered Philadelphia sports my entire life. He was
legendary.
He was a legendary.
He was like a Ron Burgundy type in Philadelphia, right?
Very much so, a Ron Burgundy type in Philadelphia at the ABC affiliate there, WPVI TV.
Give your dad a shout out if people don't know.
Oh, Scott Palmer, Scooter P.
Palmer.
Just the GOAT there in Philadelphia. Was there forever, and now works for the Phillies.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
And so I did always have a different opinion than everybody else. I had my dad telling me, like, which guy's a good guy, which guy's not a good guy. There's a different perspective. I mean, maybe the Eagles should lose and I can see my father. That would be cool. Like that was my perspective when I was a kid. And so it was a little bit different than everybody else's because it was essentially like I loved sports news more than I loved the sports teams. Right. I liked covering them. And that's how I got into it right away. I was working for him in high school.
Grew up
Let's go.
Tremendously, you had a tremendous amount of anger and resentment towards Randall Cunningham. As an example, of the era.
But we had a pair of Randall Cunningham shoes in our house.
That
he gave my dad.
Take it to your therapist, James.
I know, right? Oh.
How come I can't fill these shoes, Dad?
he did
Buddy Ryan
shoes,
would
which was weird. He had we had in our house, we had a pair of Randall Cunningham cleats. We had a pair of Reggie White cleats. Charles Barkley sneakers. I'm not sure maybe my dad had a foot fetish. I'm not sure. But
were they given to you, or did your dad
sneakers.
Did your dad heist these out of the locker room? How did you?
He was running a scam, Mark. No. Honestly, what happened is they'd come to our house. He'd have them. They'd be autographed, and then he would take them to charities, and then they would get.
You had Reggie White come over to your house? Is that not a cool perk of having a?
No, Reggie White didn't. The shoes did.
Different.
Yeah.
Little side subject, but the Minister of Defense, one of the great nicknames in sports history.
What's
Reggie White? Look him up.
Two? Nobody's two. Distance, and then the pack.
All right. Anyway, so the Combine. Let's share some takeaways. I am really interested and fascinated to see who is going to get sucked into the Taylon Green hype. Because I think one of the themes of Combine Week in Indianapolis was records falling. And I was trying to think, I'll get to that later because I have a little bit of a half-baked theory that probably makes no sense, but I'd love to see it shot down by you guys. But Taylon Green, listen to this. This dude from Arkansas, and this guy wasn't like a big producer at Arkansas or anything, but he was their QB1. He measures at about 6'6", 227. He ran a 40-yard dash. Again, this is a 6'6" quarterback of 4.36, which is like a fast wide receiver. He had a 43.5-inch vertical jump, which is probably triples Justin Graver, to just give you an example of someone like who cannot dunk and then someone who could actually eat the rim if he wanted to. He also had a broad jump of 11 feet 2 inches. All three are records for quarterbacks since at least 2003 at the Combine, when they started to, I don't know why in 2003 they decided to take the records seriously in terms of tracking them. Don't really care, but that's all I'm seeing since 2003. like when you see something like that, it's like, oh, since 1927. It's like, I get it. I mean, a lot of shit was going on in 1927, the flappers and whatnot. But I mean, we don't have the 90s Combine. That's beside the point. Anyway, the natural comp here, James, is Anthony Richardson. People are gonna, because he broke Anthony Richardson's records. Of course, the Colts made a big investment in Richardson, made him the 4th overall pick. This guy is not going to go in the top 10, but in a quarterback draft that is very wide open after the 1st overall pick, you just wonder who's going to potentially fall in love with this guy's tools, as raw and unpolished as he is as a passer, and jump up and get him, and how high they go. So Taylon Green, keep an eye on this guy's name. You're going to hear a lot of it.
Certainly. By the way, Mike Mamula is probably like, where are you starting your Combine discussion? Come on now, guys.
Mamula.
Right. Mamula Pool, first guy to ever specifically train for the Combine. Listen, I heard a couple of things about Green. One was, this draft lacks guys that you would take a flyer on. Like, you know what I mean? Like those middle round guys, to where there's like a flyer at quarterback going, he has raw talent. Maybe we can just see. This draft doesn't really have those. So maybe now he is a little bit that guy. The other name that I heard wasn't Anthony Richardson. You know who it was? It was Terrell Pryor. It was, remember Terrell Pryor as just an unbelievable athlete. Being an Ohio State Buckeye, so I'm kind of biased, but I remember what his first year as a starter at Ohio State, they got inside the tight red area, and he would go to wide receiver, and they put in the backup quarterback and throw him jump balls in the corner. That literally happened with Terrell Pryor, but he took too long, a lot of people think, to make that shift to receiver. I think he was 27 when he did that. Some people are making that comp to say, is this a guy you can move? The third thing, Mark, I'm fascinated what your opinion is, because I love your opinions. The the way the CBA has changed and the way practices have changed, and the way the numbers have changed and the number of reps have changed, this probably was a guy a number of years back you were super stoked to have in your building, but now your opportunities to work with him are somewhat limited. You could be in the old days, hey, go play some tight end, go play some receiver, but you just have such limited time now. It's hard to do that. So I'm still really curious what's going to happen with him, but everybody paid attention to the numbers.
I went to a Browns training camp practice after a weekend at the Hall of Fame and watched Terrell Pryor in person. And James, you know, like when you're there and you see these guys physically versus just on tape or from a distance or on film, wow, like he just jumped out. And I think that Cleveland Browns team tried him in a couple different ways and didn't know how to use him the right way. We're in a different place now with football. But to your point, because it feels like the kind of player where it's an argument against some of these combine measurables if he's less of a passer than Anthony Richardson in the pocket. Like, we don't have time. These coaching staffs don't have time to grow this player. Like, this is like, you're going to have him probably we have 9-10 new coaches this year. You've got about a year and a half, 2 years if you don't fail, if you fail as a coach to even grow him. So it's like, who takes the risk and why? But he stands out physically where it's like, you know, someone's going to want to. Like, I get, Dan, why he jumped on your radar and everyone else's too. But like, from an actual quarterback standpoint, what's the reality of this? It just feels like it's just too much of a long shot to get anything done quickly with him.
And obviously, Terrell Pryor didn't work out as a quarterback in the NFL. He tried to make it as a wide receiver, and it never happened. Richardson's career is in limbo, obviously, right now, or at least his Colts career.
I think the entire thing is, actually.
Yeah, maybe. And I wonder, you wonder if Anthony Richardson is a cautionary tale for some of these teams that would otherwise maybe take a chance on him. But again, if you could take a flyer on that guy in the middle rounds or even the late rounds, I don't know where he shakes out right now. Probably worth it in this draft class, but let's put it this way: if Anthony Richardson was a monster for the Colts right now, this kid might end up being in the back of the first round or something because someone says, "I want my own." Didn't work out that way. All these things are connected. Mark, a name that jumped out to you this weekend.
I thought one thing I like about the combine is when you can, you're getting to know these players. Like, someone that just jumps off the screen is like, oh, I would bet. If I owned a house, I would bet my house that he's just flat out going to succeed. And to me, that's Sonny Styles out of Ohio State, who is a monster college player. Great name. But he's in that mold of like played safety, plays linebacker. He is taller than Kyle Hamilton and 24 pounds heavier than Kyle Hamilton. He's a modern day defender who I think can get opposing offensive assistants fired. I mean, he is just an absolute monster. His comp, I loved watching this because Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah sitting together trying to like juice up these guys and talk about them as much as they can. There's a lot of these guys to get through. His comp was Calvin Johnson, Megatron, and he's a defensive player. He's out of Ohio State, so I trust the school. I trust the physical makeup. Like, his highlights are insane. Like, he dominated the combine. To your point, Dan, he had the highest vertical by a player 6'4" or taller since, you guessed it, 2003.
Yeah.
So
what was going on in 2003?
Well, I think that's an NFL Network thing on some level or a combine thing. But like, he was just absolutely dominant, and he's got the pedigree, the physical makeup, the size. He just looks like he can jump right into a defense and, like Kyle Hamilton, dominate right away. I don't know, James, if you had a chance to watch him live.
Yeah, he's special. Obviously, I watched every game this year, being an Ohio State fan. You have to remember, you mentioned pedigree. I believe Dad played with Mike Vrabel at Ohio State, if you want to tie some things together there. After the combine performance, there were people I talked to in Indianapolis that night that were like, he might have played himself into a top 5 position. It's crowded up there, but at the same time, this draft as a whole lacks a little bit of that blue chip vibe. So it's not completely out of the question. And the fact that teams are playing more of this big nickel type of defense, he can play that hybrid in the middle of the field. The performance there, as we're talking about like a quarterback that everybody's going like, I mean, this is an amazing performance, but what do you do with a player like Sonny Styles, you sit here and go, okay, this just pushes him even further up in where he already was. If you look at him going to a place like maybe the Giants or something like that, that would be at 5. That would be an insanely quick, front 7. But I did talk to people that told me I think he's in the top 5 now with that performance.
That's interesting. I was just looking at this morning Jeremiah's most recent mock draft, which was before the combine and obviously the show that he put on. And DJ had him as a top 5 prospect, but he had him in the middle of the first round, actually right now mocked to replace Levante David in Tampa. But maybe Tampa is not going to have a chance at him because of what he did here. I guess this might be, Mark, a good time to throw out my half-baked theory here on these records that are getting broken. 2003, great job. That was when NFL Network launched. But again, nobody was carrying the torch before Rich Eisen turned on the lights for NFL Network?
Kuiper was there by himself.
Come on.
It was a different event, but it's a little curious.
I'm putting it on Kuiper. It's Mel Kiper's fault. Anyway, here's my half-baked theory. We are about 5 years clear of COVID as all world-encompassing wrecking ball. So this is we're now into the first wave of prospects who were unaffected by that, mostly going through their high school and college years. You combine that with the ongoing sports science revolution, and we have a generation of kids now that are coming up that are just the most athletic beings to ever enter the league. It's half baked, but it smells pretty good coming out of that oven. What do you think?
It smells real good. Oh, one note I wanted to add on Sonny is
whoa. Let's let the aroma permeate about Zuzzer's COVID take.
It's half baked, but that means it also is partially baked, and I enjoy it. And I think we need more. We need to be bold enough at this point to look back at that COVID era, which was confusing mentally for adults and children, and start to build some takes. And I think we're at the point now where we can say we've got some measurables, we've got some developments, we've got some evidence and proof that, Dan, I think you've nailed it. I think that's exactly what's happening here, and case closed.
I learned from my son's teacher that he was overdue with a project on Black History Month. So I had to go to the library with him on Saturday morning and do a lot of research and work on the Freedom Riders. Maybe I'm a new generation. I'm post-COVID. There's something historic about what I'm doing here. I think that's what you were getting at. There was a historic nature to my look at football. James, as you were saying.
Yeah, well, Mark sent me a text, so that's why I was trying to move on real quick, because he just kind of trying to push this forward after your take. But no, it's
classic
fine.
sassy.
Yeah, it's fine. I was going to add just a quick note that we oftentimes in the college game, in the scouting aspect of this, look at the position coach that they're working with. And James Laurinaitis has developed quite the reputation across NFL circles. Obviously, he was an NFL player himself, working with the linebackers at Ohio State. Same way Brian Hartline got that reputation with receivers at Ohio State. Laurinaitis kind of has that a little bit with these linebackers coming out.
How about that post-COVID runway, though? When you think about that at all?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I had a conversation. I was at a watering hole late at night with a bunch of Patriots people, and I was talking to Alonzo Highsmith, and the predominant scout for them, and we were both at, I believe it was the CeeDee Lamb Pro Day at Oklahoma, where our planes landed and the world shut down. That was the Oklahoma Pro Day was the last NFL event that people went to, and we were all there just rubbing elbows with each other. And then my plane landed back in Denver after that pro day, and the NFL world was over. We were having a good, wouldn't be about it, but we were going down and saying, yes, we remember that.
Yeah. I had a death in the family, tragically, around the Super Bowl right before everything shut down. And I got back to LA, and I fell violently, deathly ill, and I was in bed. On the plane, and then I was in bed, and then I had to get to a funeral on the other side of the country. So I got on a plane, feeling more sick than I had ever been in my life, connected through Philadelphia, James, by the way, to get to New York, to get to this funeral, and then was in a crowded funeral home. Probably was a major spreader of the disease without realizing it at the time. Yeah. That's my COVID.
That's
memory.
A mix of, you were both responsible because you showed care for your family and your extended family, but also irresponsible at the same time. A perfect mix.
Yeah. Anyway, One more name. How about Justin Graver? Graver follows that college game. Yeah, he talks a little too much about UT, but he's following the whole thing. Justin, your thoughts? Somebody that jumped out to you this weekend.
There's too much hate in the world. We need more love. And the guy that jumped out to me
Okay, go ahead.
is Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, who I have fallen in love with as a prospect. I think he is a complete, true 3-down running back. He runs routes like a receiver out of the backfield. He can pass protect. And this is a light running back class overall. There's a few other names that people are excited about, but as far as like true 3-down workhorse guys, it's Jeremiah Love, and then whoever RB2 is in this class, there's like no consensus on, but there is a clear consensus that Jeremiah Love is the best offensive player in the draft, maybe the best overall player in the draft. And I think it's going to ignite a really interesting conversation over the next couple of months. To your point, Mark, about Sonny Styles, who plays a non-traditionally, non-premium position in linebacker. The other best player in the class is Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. So you're looking at a running back, a linebacker, and a safety as like the consensus 3 best players in this draft. And how teams value that against the positional value of an edge and a tackle and a quarterback will be really interesting to see how it all shakes out. I think Sonny Styles, like you said, James, top 5, like the Giants feels like his floor now. And I would say like the Commanders, maybe the Saints feels like the floor for Jeremiah Love. We're going to see potentially 3 non-premium positions go in like the top 8 picks of the draft. It's kind of crazy.
I've seen him connected to the Kansas City Chiefs also, which would be
That's going to happen. It's going to drive people nuts.
It's a really interesting thought, and it would be so nice to see the Chiefs' offense reimagined in a real way, other than everyone just rolling to the same season. Oh yeah, I think this is the year that Patrick Mahomes gets back to throwing for 6,000 yards and 57 touchdowns. It's like, how about a different look to this thing? And certainly he would do it. James, one thing that jumps out to me. We're coming off a year where Ashton Genty went number 6 to the Raiders. I don't want to compare like whether or not they're similar prospects. It just made me think like, please, if you're going to take a running back in the top 10, don't be a team that's like a total mess with no offensive line or quarterback solution and this poor kid just getting killed, because then that leads to an underwhelming first year. And then the GM of like the Raiders, as an example, the following spring is like, yeah, we're looking to bring in a compliment to this guy. And it's like, I'd love to see this young running back go into a situation where he could be a part of a healthy offense, and let's see him take a good offense and make it great instead of some pitiful team saying save our team, which is usually leads to frustration. That's my love of love.
No, I totally get it. I think Ashton Genty was hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on like 60% of his carries. Like it was a bloodbath. And I had a long conversation with Maurice Jones-Drew about Genty and how he was like, people are just misevaluating his rookie season. The guy can play. It's just the situation that you're pointing out, Dan, that he was in. I think you do look at him and you do look at the last 2 Super Bowl winners. Saquon Barkley carried the Eagles to a Super Bowl title. Kenneth Walker on the back end of the season essentially carried the Seahawks to a Super Bowl title. And now when we look at the position, it's being viewed differently over these last couple of years because the importance of the position. And look at Jahmyr Gibbs as a perfect example as well. The guy's going to get paid this offseason. And they broke the norm, right, Graver? Like, they went out in the first round and got a running back and a middle linebacker in the first round. That's exactly the positions you're talking about. And do you remember that draft when everybody's like, what are the Lions thinking, right? And so if you're going to get a top tier player and it's not a premium position, I'm curious if the league's thinking is starting to shift on that a little bit. And the perfect example I would give you is, shameless name drop, having a conversation with Mike LaFleur out somewhere in Indianapolis. And he was telling me this. He goes, if you love Love, why can't I pick him at 3? Well, if I love him, why can't I pick him at 3? He was trying to make the argument of like just positions like that going, I know it's not supposed to be the norm, but if he's going to make your team better and you love the player, no pun intended, then pull the trigger. I think the Broncos are also a perfect example of that when everybody goes, well, they could have just waited on Bo Nix. If you love the quarterback, now it's a premium position, so it's different, but just don't get cute and pick the players you want. And I think Detroit is a great example of that.
I mean, if I to your point, Dan, that you want him to go somewhere where he's supported, maybe you pair him in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara, and you've got a chance for him to be part of what are most running back fields right now, are committee backfields. But imagine him in Arizona with you've got Jeremiah Love, Marvin Harrison, and Trey McBride. I mean, you could start to see the makings of an offense. Like the Jets are up at 2. It seems crazy that a team would ever take a running back at 2, but like, if he's the best player in this draft, like who cares 2 years from now if you went and got him and you move on from your own running back? I don't know. I just think it's like, it might be a strange draft from that angle.
Yes. Yeah. And it is. Yeah. Anything could happen after the first pick, it sounds like. And the last running back to go number 2 is Saquon Barkley. I don't think the Giants had any regrets. The Eagles certainly believe he's a player that deserved that type of standing in the draft. And we'll see. Jets are open for business. So anybody want to come up? Come on up.
Yeah.
Give us a call.
They're short on picks in 27. They'd like some more picks.
Give us more picks. All right, let's take a break, and when we get back, we dive into all the news around the league coming out of the Combine. All right, we are back. We're going to do a little more Combine talk at the bottom of the show. Got to hear what James has to say about what he observed. But let's
bottom
first
of a glass.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, keep going.
Anything? Get into anything?
Head did not hit the pillow before 3:30 on any given night at the Combine. It was a doozy.
Aren't you a bit of a hot mess by day 3 in that situation, just based on experience?
Mark, hot mess. The snooze was further and further as the week went on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Let me put it this way. Did you follow the Jerabus across downtown Indianapolis? Were you at Prime at any point? You know, is there a new place that's popped up?
I'm upset about Prime right now. I'm not going to tell you the new spots. I'm not going to pull a Schrager on here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you Prime has changed. Prime now has a DJ.
Oh, for shame. For shame.
What are we doing?
Know your audience.
Yeah. I saw Sean Payton there, and I saw him go like this.
Rolling out of his mind.
He just laughed. Couldn't hear anybody, I don't think. But
I was picturing Sean Payton high on ecstasy, just absolutely going nuts.
Just raving in the front by himself with glow sticks. But no, the DJ booth is essentially where Bob Lamont used to hold court in the corner there, the legendary coach agent, right, of all those guys, former school teacher turned massive coach agent, used to just hold court at Prime. Now there's a DJ booth there.
That's
Come on.
Absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Are they trying to flush people out of there? Well, I don't even get the strategy.
Why would you want that?
I don't know what they're doing, Mark, because the new system, the formals go until 11 p.m. So these coaches are not out until midnight.
It's like here's the management conversation at Prime in Indianapolis. All right, how do we get all these millionaire coaches and front office officials and sports writers getting away from their family for 3 days? Like, how can we get them out of our establishment so as not to accept all of their money?
All they want to do is talk to each other.
Right.
These are coaches that used to coach together. They've all been fired. Now they're different. They just want to talk, and they're screaming in each other's ears, like trying to, have a conversation. This sounds old too, by the way. I'm sorry.
I've told this story before. Mark and I were both there for it, but that is a special. That's hallowed ground. That is the location where a current head coach in our league right now once said to Mark and I and a couple others friends, looked across the room at Kyle Shanahan with his little posse of guys and said, "I'm going to beat the shit out of that guy if he looks over here again." That's what happens at Prime. Okay,
yeah, it does.
Well.
And so we're going to drown that out with DJ Howie and send people, elsewhere to Shula's or
big
wherever.
Reveal that coach never got his way with Kyle Shanahan. I can promise you that.
Okay,
we don't like that.
Not on the
Could
field.
have been private.
He could have Sanchez'd them in the alley. You never
There
know.
was a lot of Sanchez talk this week in Indy, but keep going.
Oh, poor Mark. Did you go to the spot in the alley?
Yeah, we all went by. You can't avoid it, honestly, going from hotels to
we've
places.
walked down that exact alley.
Yeah,
You're right.
Can't,
Yep.
you can't. It's right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe, Mark, you beat a cab driver or a trucker once in that alley.
It was some version of that.
That escaped Mike Florio's watchful eye, though.
Yes, I was.
The Starbucks was brought up a lot this week too, from Rap Sheet. And
we missed that.
Schultz.
Yeah, we needed a.
Is that a little tired? That angle.
I'm
on Rap Sheet at
exhausted
this point?
from it, Mark. I'm exhausted. I
What
appreciate
angle
you
that
saying
Ian
it.
and
Well,
and
just
Jordy
that
got
I feel
into
like
a fight a year ago?
because I also just on you're on Twitter all it's like 18 people asked Ian about the.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves it.
the confrontation he's so-called
Adores it.
had. But
Yeah, he adores it.
He absolutely loves it.
he might. I'm just saying I don't need to hear about it again.
Right.
Yeah.
I was waist deep in Little League all weekend and a Black History Month project. So yeah, I missed these tweets. So that's an easier way. Just disconnect.
You're very versatile, though.
You know who else was versatile? Kyler Murray, once upon a time, was one of the great two-way quarterbacks, young quarterbacks in the league. Injuries and general ineffectiveness and the falling out with his team and vice versa has changed the narrative around him. And speaking of rap sheet, the Cardinals are likely releasing Murray when the NFL's league year begins. Justin, as a reminder, when does the league year begin?
That would be March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern.
All right. That is 9 days from right now. So next week, that will go down. The Arizona will have a $47.5 million dead cap charge with a post-June 1 cut designation on Murray. He will sign elsewhere on a one-year prove-it deal, most likely, but you never know. Here's something, Mark, for you to chew on. Kyler Murray, where will he land? Where are the odds of where he's landing? Throw up that tweet, Mr. Graver. And according to Jamie Eisner, I think he's the former head of Disney, where will Kyler Murray play next? The New York Jets, of course, plus 300. Dolphins right behind at plus 350. Vikings plus. So there are f***ing people betting on this. Guys, go do a Black History Month project in the library. You know what? Get out of the betting industry just a touch.
Get grounded. How are the Chiefs a better odds than the Browns?
Let me go through the full list. So yes, Jets plus 300, Dolphins plus 350, Vikings plus 400, Steelers plus 500, Colts plus 600, Falcons plus 8, Ravens plus 9, and then Commanders 10-1, Rams 12-1, Chiefs 14-1, Browns 16-1. What were you saying, Mark?
Well, I just find it interesting that Kyler Murray lands on the Chiefs before a quarterback-needy team like the Browns.
Well, it's 14-1 odds, says he.
I know, I agree the Browns are not into him. I do feel like the Jets are picking up steam here. It was Connor Hughes that mentioned that was a possibility, and there was a weird little nugget there that Aaron Glenn is friends or, in quotes, has a relationship with Murray's father. So you never know. That might be a Jets land. Well, they're the number one on that list. So.
I could deal with it. James, I could deal with Kyler Murray. I don't believe in Kyler Murray. I don't think he's a good fit for the New York market or my team. But if you give him a one-year prove-it deal and the Jets don't have any other option, I'm not going to go nuts about it. I'm not going to be optimistic, even as optimistic as I was about Justin Fields last year, which was guarded optimism. I'd probably be in a similar boat, like, this is probably not going to work out. But if it's a one-year deal where they don't have a big investment, they could do worse than a flyer on Murray. It would make sense in a vacuum, but still don't feel good about it.
Yeah, Kyler Murray probably is sitting here going, I don't believe in Jets, but I do believe in me. This is the most interesting quarterback landscape we may have ever seen. Because 2 years ago, when Russell Wilson was released by the Broncos and all that dead money was there, and you could get a Super Bowl winning quarterback with a boatload of starts for the league minimum, everybody was going, wow. This year we could have 5 of those, not Super Bowl winners, but guys with a boatload of starts that you could sign for the league minimum. What I could see happening with the Jets, and this is just talking to everybody around the league, and a lot of people are tying him to the Vikings, and I'll tell you why, but I'll use the Jets as an example. Because all of these guys are going to play for the league minimum. They're getting a full salary from their previous spot, whether that's Kyler, whether that's Tua. So Kyler could look at the Jets and go, you guys need me for a year? Well, guess what? I need you for a year. I need to rebuild myself for a year to be available in 2027. You guys are going to go, I know, with a draft pick in 2027. Let's mutually use each other, and I will take up none of your cap space. I'll sign for, 1.3, or essentially what the league minimum is for a veteran. And there's a lot of talk around the league of that being the case. So that's why you look at the most talented ones are essentially going to try to pick the best landing spot for themselves. And that's why the Jets might be in an interesting spot. Kyler Murray might go, I'm playing for the league minimum anywhere. I want to go to the Vikings and beat out J.J. McCarthy on a good team, on a good roster. And so this landscape is fascinating because you're going to be able to get these guys. But it's also up to the quarterback this time around Money's not really an object, and it's up to them where they want to go, and the teams don't really have a say. That's what makes this landscape really, really interesting with these guys that are getting released.
Yeah, it's these like quietly, we're not allowed to say we're tanking, and the coaches don't believe that maybe, but a team like the Jets, and there's like 3 or 4 others where it's like, we really don't want to look beyond next year's draft.
Exactly.
So you've almost got to get a quarterback that isn't going to come in and win too many games for you or cost too much money. You want him not make too big of an investment. And Kyler Murray kind of fits.
He does. But Mark, if they win games, it doesn't really affect the Jets' draft status. With the number of picks that they have 3 first-round picks already for 27. So even if they win games, they'll have the capital to move where they'd like. I think they could think that way too. But
they put themselves in that position, but you can't go win 10 games.
And
do you think Kyler Murray is going to win?
Yes,
10?
Mark.
I know, but that's like
that would be the greatest
Yeah.
possible situation, because that would mean Kyler Murray found something, and all of a sudden you have this guy on the cheap with the ability and flexibility. But we're not going to spin that way. But let's see what happens. And if he follows like a Justin Fields arc, if they were to get him, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and he's playing poorly, put him on the bench. Put in some rookie that you drafted in the 5th round and finish your 3-14, and then you have even more artillery. All right, we'll see what happens there. The Dolphins expected to release Tua Tagovailoa. This is not a big surprise, but Dan Graziano reports that Miami hasn't given up trying to trade Tua, but he's expected to be cut by the 3rd day of the new league year, so that's the end of next week. Also a post-June 1 designation, so that's going to be a tough comp for any team. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. The Colts and Daniel Jones are still working on a new deal. The Colts have made it clear that they want Daniel Jones as their QB1. Obviously, they gave Anthony Richardson permission to go sign or seek a trade to get out of there. So the question is, will Daniel Jones be ready for the new league year? Do they bring somebody else in? We shall see on that. And Schefter said, by the way, on an appearance on Pat McAfee, I'm told it's 50-50 that the Colts will be able to get a deal done with Daniel Jones by the deadline, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. They either get a deal done with him, or I think the transition tag is in place. So Jones is not going anywhere. It's just a matter of how they figure this one out.
They also have a keen interest in keeping Alec Pierce, who they've talked about using some version of a tag on. Previously, there's been reports of that. So this kind of all gets in. Those two things conflict with each other. And I think Alec Pierce is going to be offered a lot of money by other teams if he hits the market. So I guess I thought with the injury status of Daniel Jones that this would have been a little bit more of a home run. It's not that it's hit a snag, but it sounds a little more complex than planned. So I get, like, James, I don't know what you heard in Indy, but I thought the Daniel Jones thing would be a home run out of the park without too many problems.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly right, Mark. But at the same time, I think Daniel Jones is using all the leverage he has. What are the Colts' options if they don't have Daniel Jones? Talking to people in Indianapolis, I know that Anthony Richardson wants to seek a trade, and he's been guaranteed permission to seek a trade. My understanding is he still has trouble seeing things up close, right in here. Around here is difficult for that eye. It was way worse than people think. And if anybody's going to trade for him, there are a lot of questions medically, I'm told, that teams are going to have about Anthony Richardson. The other part that gives Daniel Jones leverage is they made the Sauce Gardner trade. They don't have a first round pick. So, like, where are they going to help, like, you know, in another avenue other than Daniel Jones? They want him back. I think he wants the deal to be in like the 50s. They probably want it to be in the 40s. They can transition tag him, and that's obviously different than the franchise tag. We all know if somebody can put an offer sheet in for him, they can match it. If they match it, they get him. If they don't match it, they get no compensation for him whatsoever. I know they want to bring him back, but the Alec Pierce part, to my understanding, is a really big part. He wants to play with Daniel Jones. So he's probably sitting there going, if you guys franchise tag me, does that mean, like, I might be playing with a different quarter? You know what I mean? It's a really weird dichotomy between those two that no other team's going through. And Mark's right about the pay, Dan. Like, I had a GM tell me at the Combine, he was like, remember Christian Kirk when we all responded to what he got from Jacksonville? We're going to have the same response when we see the number that Alec Pierce signs for if he gets out of Indianapolis.
But people just get freaked out. Wide receiver. We can't figure out how to pay this guy.
100%, man. They're like, what are we doing here? No, like it's that number considering the landscape of free agency.
Not I.
Like he doesn't deserve that.
He hasn't crossed 47 catches in a season, but he's a big yard yard per catch guy.
And it's a lack of free agent wide receivers. I mean, his biggest competition is Mike Evans, who's immensely older than he is. And so the landscape will bump that number up.
The Colts are in the trickiest of all positions because they need 2 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They need 2. They go ahead and do whatever you got to do to bring back Daniel Jones, who you're now convinced is a franchise quarterback again based on 8 starts before his body broke down. But you needed a qualified backup. And because that guy's probably going to play multiple games as well. I don't know. They're tricky. And they're also the Colts, and the Colts are weird. The Colts just finished the season with Phillip Rivers as the quarterback, lest we forget. Could they do something crazy and give Aaron Rodgers a call? I don't think it's a quarterback room that maybe makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. They seem like a team that's, especially after the 7-1 start, they're like, we're ready to win. The ownership group is like, we want to move forward. The end of last season was embarrassing. Like, what are your options? What are your options?
Well, I don't think Aaron's playing anywhere other than Pittsburgh, if he plays. The dialogue has been too intense between him and Mike McCarthy. I do completely agree with you that Chris Ballard is sitting here going, like, I'm not sure how many lives I have. I think I'm playing with no, like I'm playing Street Fighter and like I'm looking at the thing and it's like all the way down, one more hit and I'm done, like type of situation. So he went all in last year with the Sauce trade. And they've gone all in. And so you're right. They do need to find a way. I think Shane Steichen probably feels that way as well. They are hitched entirely to Daniel Jones, to my understanding. Like they really are.
I just want to make sure I don't get, aggregated on some local cult sites. So make sure to include this quote if you do. I'm talking out of my buttocks when I connect Aaron Rodgers to the Colts. I'm just my buttocks, Buttocks. I just want to point out that the Colts are weird and they do funky stuff. And they are in a tricky situation at quarterback. So just keep an eye on them.
We're dying for that to get aggregated. We need that to happen.
Smash cut to Taylon Green, week 1 starter of the Colts. Give it to me. Give me all you got. Give me all you got.
Let's go.
Dave Letterman to Future Islands. I'll take all that you got. Check out the Friday Fun Show, where we did a deep dive on that performance. Legendary performance on the Late Show with David Letterman. All right. Derek Carr still in the conversation. And again, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Sure, 43-year-old man playing in frigid Pittsburgh in a milquetoast offense. He's got to be thinking about the Vikings, and the Vikings should be at least thinking about Rodgers.
I mean, he wanted to a year ago.
Vincent Bonsignore of the California Post. That is a thing now. The California Post, by the way, wrote, there was a lot of talk in Indy about the Vikings being linked to Derek Carr. Bonsignore added that he'd imagine that if Carr came back, it would be with a contender. Well, he also said that on his David and Derek Carr podcast, the one where they're sitting so close that Mark intimated a potential sexual relationship, and I was like, they're brothers. Like they are brothers. It's
I
fine
said that they were.
close.
I said from a broadcasting angle, so that I don't get aggregated, that the proximity of the two broadcasters felt uncomfortable to me, even if they were brothers.
Incredible PFT post by Michael David Smith. He the Call podcaster intimates sexual connection between Carr brothers.
It's like these guys were on one this past Monday. Your article,
anyway,
mine.
Jeremy Fowler added that he's also heard that the Vikings are considering Kyler Murray and Geno Smith as they outline their veteran quarterback plan. That makes sense in both cases. Tua and Kirk Cousins also on the radar. So wide open for the Vikings. We know, though, that J.J. McCarthy, at the very least, Jimmy, is going to have some steep competition.
Yeah, the plan in Minnesota and in Cleveland was never to just go in to the 2026 season with the quarterback room you have. It was never the case. And in Minnesota specifically, they tried to do this last year. They wanted Sam Darnold, didn't really work out. They offered Daniel Jones exactly what Indy offered him. He took Indy because he thought it was a better chance and a better path to the starter spot to beat out Anthony Richardson. Now I'm curious how guys are going to view Minnesota this year compared to last year, because I think there's going to be some quarterbacks that think they have legitimate chance to 100% beat out J.J. McCarthy. Now, they want some competition. They want J.J. to go through a competitive atmosphere. They think that's going to boost him up a little bit, possibly, in terms of bring something else out of him. I don't think they've lost, Dan, entirely their faith in J.J. McCarthy. I know a lot of different things have gone on with babies being born and nicknames and all sorts of stuff that transpired during his time. He gave himself a nickname, I believe.
Noin.
And so I think Justin Jefferson still believes in him. I think they're going to throw together this offseason. But I do believe they want to bring somebody in, like, to compete. This is an interesting spot. I think Derek Carr could be that guy. I think Kyler could be that guy. I don't see Kirk Cousins being that guy. Like, do you want Kirk Cousins to come back into that building, like, for your young quarterback, the guy who, like, everybody still owns his jersey in the city? Like, I don't see that one being one of the plays that they make, but I truly believe somebody's coming in, and that person has a legitimate chance to start.
I mean, Kevin O'Connell has been through a laundry list of quarterbacks who weren't his perceived or expected starter during his run there. And he's done obviously a good job. We know he's a good coach, but I think you got other problems going on. Like, explain to me if Derek Carr is a quarterback who is historically beloved by his teammates. I don't know what it is. I just get a sense that's not the case for some reason. And you've got a Justin Jefferson problem if you have another year that goes south quarterback wise. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is your answer, but I cannot believe that you try to sell to everyone that we're going into this season with Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing crazier than that to me was even intimating that JJ McCarthy is still your answer. Like, a counterpoint to what you said, James. And again, this is coming out of the buttocks, potential aggregators. Justin Jefferson doesn't believe in J.J. McCarthy. Justin Jefferson might say all the right things, but if it's week 3 and he's had another one of those weeks where 4 passes are airmailed over his head, or he gets a hospital ball, or like, he's not going to be a good soldier again. Like, I credit Justin Jefferson so much how he handled this past season.
For sure.
God, you better have somebody.
Yeah, I go back, and I just want to say this. I had an offensive coordinator tell me this during the draft profile, and they were in the market for a quarterback, and they actually did take a quarterback in that draft. And he said something to me about J.J. McCarthy that has stuck with me since that conversation during draft season. And it was essentially this. If you are a top 10 pick at quarterback, I don't care how good your college team is. If you are not the focal point of the offense, you're not a top 10 pick. Like, I know Michigan was designed to play football a specific way with Jim Harbaugh. We know that. But his point was this. If you are that talented to be picked in the top 10, your school is asinine to not design the offense around you. You should be that much better than everybody else on the field. And that wasn't the case for J.J. McCarthy. Like, he had very limited throws. He had very limited opportunities. Now,
he had games with 12 attempts.
Yes, exactly, Mark. So, like, that part always stuck with me, where I was like, yes, he played games, but, like, do we have a big enough sample size of him really doing
Guys, he was a winner. He's a dog, okay? Have you seen his eye black? Have you seen his locker room demeanor? That guy
This
makes
is another
people
Dan. This
better.
is another Dan thread that is. It's paying off at the moment.
At the
why
moment.
did Harbaugh talk him up in
call him
such
nine.
a way?
Nine comes out.
Who, you mean literally the craziest man in the NFL?
I know he is, but like, it was almost to throw another team off the scent a little bit, because he was so complimentary of J.J. McCarthy
Threw a lot of
pre-draft.
people
Now,
out.
I get that it's all subterfuge.
9 comes
but
out.
I'm battling Justin. Justin has gone off the rails over there.
I call him 9. 9 comes out.
Sure he does. Noin.
I call him Noin. But
Noin.
Mark, you're right. I'll just say that. I got it in before Justin drowned me out. You're right.
That's all I need to hear.
You were right, Mark. Not about J.J. McCarthy, but whatever else we were talking about just now. You were right.
Mm-hmm.
That works equally well.
Let's take a break, and we'll hit more news. Trades coming up. All right, we are back. Before we get to a couple trades that went down involving the Texans, we promised it, and here it is. James Palmer had a combine take he wanted to share with the audience.
Oh.
What do you got, Jimbo?
I gotta
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
Stupid.
Oh my God. No, that tracks. So I'm sitting down doing my interview with Joe Brady. And Joe talks about James Cook, and I go, hey, great name, right? And he goes, well, we call him Jimbo. And I'm like, oh, damn. I really just swing and a miss James with Joe Brady there. I thought my play on James words was going to work. Yeah, no, later that
he didn't
night,
track it. Yeah.
No, then later that night, I'm walking into the athlete's first party, shameless plug again, and Joe Brady's walking out, and Joe Brady goes, oh, Jimbo. And I go, oh,
was
no.
hammered.
Now I'm Jimbo to Joe Brady for the rest of my life. Okay.
Brady
this
on
guy-
like his 17th beer is like, oh, it's Shane Palmer over there. I remember the Jimbo interaction.
He still looked fresh. It was like a cream sweatsuit.
Well, he's
Chain.
Brady. He's an Irishman. He
Yeah.
knows how to hold his liquor.
He's
Come on.
doing it right. Yeah, he did look like one of those guys in Southie. All right. I'm going with a guy not named Jimbo. I'm going with Kenyon Sadiq.
Okay.
Because
Oh, here we go.
of what he did at this combine, we were expecting, to my understanding. It wasn't something that came out of nowhere. But he goes a 4.39 at the 40. By the way, this man is, I believe, 6'3", 239. He gets a 43.5-foot jump in the vert, 11.2 in the broad. My point of this is we've had so much tight end success over the last couple of years, and guys getting drafted very differently than we've seen in the past. I don't know if this guy is Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren, but he's a willing blocker compared to some of those other guys. He can absolute fly and is built like a brick shithouse. Like, there's also no other tight ends in his category. So what he did was further solidify space between him and the rest of the group.
You know what? His record for the vertical was broken in the same weekend by Eli Stowers of Vanderbilt, who a lot of people maybe comp him more as a wide receiver than a tight end. But just want to throw that out there. Back-to-back records broken. Maybe my half-baked COVID theory is starting to pick up steam.
I think, this might be something.
It's picking up steam. There are a couple interesting tight ends in this class, but also the free agent crop of tight ends is pretty spicy too. So I think that's going to be one position where there's going to be some wild movement. Fantasy implications, but new pieces for teams.
Who do you like, Mark? Who do you like in that free agent group?
Well, you know who I like. He came from Cleveland, and I think he's going to go. We thought he might go to
You talking about my guy?
your guy.
David Njoku?
I think Njoku he's not the youngest, but I still think that like he's had to deal with a lot of bad quarterback play. But I think you put him in the right offense, I could see him absolutely operating as a Pro Bowl type tight end. I just think he's that guy.
Give him Travis Kelce's job in Kansas City. I think Njoku has a 1,400-yard, 12-touchdown season in him in the right setup.
He's got a couple more years like that, I think. It's just one of the interesting Kate Otten's out there too. I just like certain guys, if you put them somewhere else, you might maximize them. And like Njoku's been stuck in the wrong place for a while.
Kate Otten, nice player.
I know who else is stuck
Njoku,
in the wrong
potential
place.
All-Pro.
Yeah.
Love that. So whoever signs that guy will make
Dallas
a nice
Goedert
move.
was in the wrong place. He was like the third, fourth option on that offense. And that's a guy that I talked to people around the league, like full complete tight end. It's like a top 5 tight end. But you got A.J. Brown to feed, Devontae Smith to feed, Saquon Barkley to feed. Like, in the red zone, he had a good year this year, but I'm curious if he went somewhere else with.
Stick a pin in
without
it
fighting for
because
six.
we're going to have Bill Barnwell on the show on Thursday to talk the free agency crop as we spin forward towards that big event.
It's a good one to have. It's a
All
good
right.
one to have.
All right, back into the news. Trade. Give me the trade sound effect, Justin. The old ding, 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 ding. That one. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about due to our
Whenever
long
you find it, just hit it.
working history together. But I must
We're going to clock
also,
it right now. I'm clocking at 52. Okay. Let's see how long it takes Justin to find it as the producer.
So the thing
wait,
is,
wait. There it is.
this isn't a trade sound effect. This is just the pick is in on NFL Network.
That's close enough.
It brings up that kind of feeling and aura
Sure.
there.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
makes
that.
you go.
Wait, is there not a trade sound effect? I guess there's not enough for it to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But there's always
this is
big
what we
trades.
used as our trade sound effect on the Patreon draft show. Sign up.
Right, like when the
Patreon.com/heed the
Tennessee Titans imploded their offense by trading A.J. Brown on draft day. Like, you're telling me they didn't... Is this what they... No, they... Something
I
for
think it's part
NFL
of
Network to
the
work
it's
on.
part of someone's draft pick. It's announced as part of the draft pick. So
Right.
Yeah, that plays, and then we cut to Roger Goodell on like a slow, like a fade that's a zooming in.
that's
shot
how the
of
draft
him
works. Just an
approaching the
FYI.
football.
But
And then he says, with the 4th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Jeremiah
Right.
Love.
I don't know if like NFL media still has access to like sound libraries at this point. That the belt's been tightened.
probably a limited version of at most.
But if they want, like they could mock it up, or we could send them something from our file if they need the help. You know what I mean? Financially. All right.
Kind of teammates we are.
That's what we are. No hard feelings. We'll send you a little
Save
sound
it, brothers. Okay, keep going.
The Texans have traded for a running back. Love this move. David Montgomery. R.I.P. Sonic and Knuckles, one of my favorite nicknames. The duo of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Killer for the Lions. But Montgomery is at the stage of his career where obviously he's like, give me the chance to be a sled dog, and he's going to have that opportunity. The Texans are sending lineman Juice Scruggs, speaking of great names, a 4th-round pick and a 7th-rounder to the Lions in exchange for Montgomery. Mike Garafolo, our buddy from NFL Media, reported that the Texans were Montgomery's preferred destination if he was to be traded. The Lions maintained communication with Montgomery throughout the process. He lands in Houston. Mark, I really like this. I wouldn't say for both sides, because I think having depth in your backfield is so important. Gibbs is brilliant, but he's, just like any player, one plant away from being out of the picture. And now that you don't have another ready-made starter, the Lions become more vulnerable. They'll probably address that, obviously, in the next few weeks. But anyway, for the Texans team that was, like, all due respect, was giving Nick Chubb in 2025 significant run. This is a big upgrade for them in a very pivotal year for their offense.
I love it for Houston. Joe Mixon out of the picture too, very likely. So you've got an absolute foundationally proven runner in David Montgomery. I like David Montgomery more though in a timeshare with Gibbs. Like I as much as I like it for the Texans.
You could say that about like any running back in the league, of course.
No, absolutely. Like it just sort of seems obvious to me that the Detroit Lions, you're removing Montgomery, and we talked about this a couple shows ago. Their stout offensive line is missing pieces, and it's losing players. And I just feel like the identity of this offense, not to mention the offensive coordinator that you lost to the Bears, is piece by piece kind of disappearing. So they quietly have a lot of work to do. I just simply don't like it for Detroit on any level.
I'll say this. I love how the Texans were like, we're trading Laramie Tunsil last year. We're not going to give him a 3rd contract. We also need to, and I was told this specifically by people in that building, we're going to change the entire culture of our offensive line. We want glass eaters up front, guys. We want glass eaters like we have on the defensive line. And then everybody goes, okay, new offensive line in 2025. And then Nick Cassera's like, well, check this out. So long, Tytus Howard. So long, Juice Scruggs. Like he's like rebuilding it all over again in Houston right now. Now we'll see what they do up front. He's going to be running behind a very different line than what he had up there in Detroit, but it was desperately needed to give CJ Stroud some comfort. I just think that part was just, that offense was too reliant on him making plays with his arm, specifically in pressure situations. I knew at the beginning of the season, I reported it, I felt like it just didn't get enough steam, to be entirely honest. Joe Mixon was never going to play last year. Like he was never going to play, and I'm not sure if he plays again. And so they kind of knew it, to my understanding. I'm surprised they didn't do something about it sooner with the season that they were having on the back end. But also, he will have Woody Marks there, who came on a little bit, so maybe that'll spell him a time, in some capacity. But I like it for Houston, honestly. I actually really like what Nick does as a GM and the way he operates most of the time. And this is one that's another one in the I like moves by Nick.
It's a huge upgrade. We'll see if, Mark, to your point, if Montgomery can play the guitar, as it were, in this type of role as a lead back. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Chubb is years past his expiration date due to the terrible injuries. And Woody Marks, despite flashing at times later in the season, he averaged 3.6 yards per carry over almost 200 attempts. So he got run and never really was able to be a guy that they could trust in that regard. So I think it's a great move for them. And James, to your point, listen, they're fixing the offensive line and they're fixing the backfield, because they just kind of have to willfully put their head in the sand that the problem isn't the quarterback. So it's just, quarterback's fine. Everything's fine with CJ Stroud. You're moronic to think anything is wrong with PJ Stroud, according to team officials. So let's make everything better around him. And voila, everything. Voila. Everything is.
Well, he could be better supported though. Like I think that's been an issue. Line-wise, running game-wise, offensive coordinator-wise, everything. Like,
you know what I'm saying, though, Sess.
Yes, I do.
He is the enigma of the NFL. I'll be honest. I had that conversation with Kurt Warner last month. We were talking about it. Like, he can't figure it out. I mean, the guy his rookie year played like a top 10, 7 quarterback in the NFL. Now there's just some things where I hear he's questioning himself in terms of confidence. He sees certain things and can't pull the trigger. Things go bad in the second half. He has a hard time digging himself out mentally. These are all things I think the Texans know, but they're things that other teams know as well, which is why Nick had to say that at the Combine, because other teams are calling, going like, what is your plan? Because everybody thinks when we get him in our building, just wait.
Right. Well, 2 words, 3 syllables, Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
Any quarterback that has a baseline of talent can be fixed with the right coaching and in the right setup.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's like a waste case from the head up and he's been ruined. His confidence is shot. But, I mean, we did watch the Texans in the playoffs. It was pretty rough. That was a quarterback searching
Little
for
grisly.
it mentally. But to the point, we had this conversation with Connor a couple weeks back. He was in a bit of a different place. But it's like, you got to look at this landscape, look at his past history, look at the rest of the team. It's ready to roll. I agree with the way the Texans are handling this. Let's give this guy another year and see if we can get things right. Anyway, the Texans also made a deal, as we alluded to, sending starting right tackle Tytus Howard to the Browns in exchange for a 5th-round pick. Rap Sheet had that first. Howard then turns around and gets a 3-year, $63 million extension with Cleveland. He will obviously play tackle for the Browns as well. He did play interior line and tackle last year with Houston. And the Texans, will target O-line in free agency. So, Mark, the Browns are another team with a lot of questions on offense. Getting a guy that was a stabilizer for Houston, not a bad thing.
Well, especially Cleveland's offensive line. It's another one of these lines where you go back 3 years and we're thinking best line in the league. The generator of a dominating ground game with Nick Chubb, but all these guys are gone. And they have essentially 5 free agents and 5 answers along the offensive line. So this is one answer, but it's possible that Joel Bitonio is not there. Wyatt Teller is out the door. Ethan Pochek, Jack Conklin, these names that have been the centerpiece of Cleveland's ground game and offense for years are no longer the answer at all. And so I don't know how an already bad team, a team riddled with issues at wide receiver and up front, decides how they're going to rebuild an entire offensive line reliably in one offseason. It's a major to-do. It's one of their many needs. And I don't think it's like another team that doesn't really have an answer at quarterback, to put it lightly, has to put someone behind this front 5. It's a recipe.
The trade makes sense though, right? So you get a guy in trade, take care of one tackle position.
I like you're going to have to make a lot of moves, and they've said they're going to.
In free agency, bang, boom, boom. Maybe you take a guy at the top of the draft or in the second round or whatever.
5 guys.
Yeah. 5 guys, and all of a sudden you have 4 or 5 new starters, and that's how the sausage gets made, Mark. You just have to believe. Believe, Mark.
I don't have to believe. But.
No, you don't have to believe yet. I like, Mark, that the first one is a versatile piece. If you pull the trigger and give the extension to the first guy, that now you're not hamstrung into going anywhere with the future moves that you make, because Tytus can play a variety of spots. So you now make a move, you lock a guy in, but he's not locked into one position. You still have flexibility. The line, real quick, I just wanted to make this note because I thought about it. I had this conversation with George Payton once, who I think is one of the better GMs in all of football. And he has a very strong philosophy on making sure he staggers age and staggers age at positions, and to make sure he doesn't put himself in a position like the Browns are in, and to where you're never in a position group where contracts and ages are too aligned. And that is a real important part of his team building philosophy. And it just is a very good example of what's happening in Cleveland, that it just bit them in the butt, in terms of not preparing how they do it. And that's, Bucks, or how do you say it? Buttocks?
Buttocks. Right in the buttocks. They got bit.
Buttocks.
So, I like those. I love those conversations, right, where guys just teach you about their team building philosophies. And that was just kind of one that kind of came to me there.
Hey, Sussy, you could stick Tytus Howard at right tackle. You know what else you could do?
Well, I wouldn't mind if Andrew Berry talked with George Payton like that. That might be helpful.
But just understand the versatility you got here. You go pick up a guy in free agency or the draft. You kick him to guard, or you kick him back to right tackle. I
appreciate
saying you
your
lineman places.
Your blind optimism is paying off right now.
I'm just saying you can kick him wherever you need to kick him. You know what I mean?
I'll kick him.
See, now you have a good outlook about it. By the way, speaking of offensive linemen that, sometimes it can be tough to watch. The Chiefs have informed tackle Jawaan Taylor that he'll be released before the start of the league year, barring a trade. The release will save the Chiefs $20 million under the cap. That's important because the Chiefs cap at the moment is kind of a mess. They're doing a bunch of restructuring, trying to get under. Every team obviously has to be under the salary cap by the start of the league year. So this is one of those moves. Jawaan Taylor, you may remember, is a guy that has Super Bowl rings, but also is a guy who will drive you crazy. It's like, 14-yard scramble by Mahomes there's a flag down. You know what that means? Jawaan Taylor's on the field, the most penalized lineman in the league just about. So the Chiefs decide to move on.
I have two major fan bases that follow me probably most than any other fan base in the NFL. It's Chiefs fans. No, just the percentage. Sure. The percentage of the pie. Chiefs fans because of the amount of time I've spent there during their run when I was with NFL Network, and then Philly fans because obviously the amount of times if I ever send something out about Jawaan Taylor, about his jump kick early, his kick back,
jump kick, yep.
Every single Chiefs fan is like, why don't you look at Lane Johnson? What about Lane Johnson? I'm like, I always want to be like, yeah, Lane does get an advantage. Lane is arguably the best right tackle ever in this era.
A little bit of a different,
and it's like a little different.
Category.
It's like, man, you might want to pick somebody else. I get it, but yeah,
leave old Lane-O out of this.
Yeah, leave Lane out of this. I don't get the issue. I think Kansas City's line is not terrible, and I don't think they're in a terrible spot. In all honesty, I mean, your left tackle needs to show up. He can't go MIA for portions of the season, but they're not awful as an offensive line.
Hey, Mark, you could also, the Cleveland Browns could trade for Jawaan Taylor. You could kick him anywhere you want. I'm just building your line for you. That's what I'm here for.
It's just add bodies. We don't need them to be skilled or proven.
Kick
just
them.
a body.
Interior, exterior, all you got to do.
Kick them.
All right, before we sign off, a couple trades to be on the lookout for. Maxx Crosby, Burt Breer, Connor Orr's podcast mate and fellow SI compatriot. He said this weekend, I'd lean toward a Maxx Crosby trade happening, and maybe this week with teams like Dallas, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, Philadelphia, and the Rams keeping tabs on his availability. What do all those teams have in common? They're all Super Bowl contenders, and then there's also the Cowboys. But how beautiful in Cowboys is it that you could do a report like that and just basically the 8 most likely teams to win the Super Bowl next year, and then the Cowboys are like, and we're in that group too.
And we'll just undo the trade we made a year ago.
Right. Although Maxx Crosby on week 1 Sunday Night Football, like playing in Jera World, I can picture it.
Yeah.
I can picture it.
I said to somebody in Indy, by the way, with Dallas, I hear Max. What do you think? He just did one of these. I said, he goes, I wouldn't rule it out. I said, okay, I will listen. So there's that, I will say.
Interesting.
I know. So I think they're real. I do think they're real in there. I do know I spoke to one of those coaches, and he laughed at what the compensation is right now. But I did speak to John Spytek, and I asked him kind of directly, I know you want Maxx Crosby back. Has Max told you he wants to be back? And he was like, well, we're not going to get into the details of everything, of what's going on.
Did they give John Spytek an office at the Raiders facility? Or is it basically Tom Brady has an empty office that he doesn't use but no one can use, and Spytek is in a cubicle
Sits
nearby?
in there.
Take us through it a little bit.
No. Listen, he has an office. He is the general manager. I would say, like...
Is he, though?
Yeah. I think he... I actually do think he is.
James is like, that's my friend. We got hammered for 2 days straight. You shut up.
Stop. We're putting James in a tough spot.
Stop talking out of your buttocks.
No, Spy is, I think this is a huge year. I loved, honestly, we talked off camera. We did an on camera conversation. I loved how honest he was, because he literally said to my face on camera, he was like, Clint is coming into a team that is not nearly as talented as the one he just came from. Like, to just admit that as a general manager, I think is very important. And he said we have to be very sober in how we go about this offseason. I think that's telling about Max, in all honesty. They understand they're a couple of years away. And to me, that kind of proves that we need to understand that we need draft capital to kind of flip this thing.
I think that's why it makes sense. There was, I don't know what you heard, but people were saying that the idea you're going to get what the Cowboys got in the Micah Parsons trade is not the case here. That type of trade does not exist for Maxx Crosby potentially.
I don't know.
I think it's under.
You get a first round pick. One of these teams that believe they're one guy away that are willing to give up a background of the first round pick and maybe a 2.
Oh, they'll definitely get a 1. Yeah, I don't think they get the max deal, but they'll definitely get a 1. He's about to be 29, so that plays into a little bit. And I would say this, throw that in there, grave digger. But I would say this part plays a factor.
9 comes
how
out.
hard he plays. Like, I know we all want that in our building. We all want that as a cultural leader in our building.
That.
Teams right now are looking at the going, also, how many more years do I get him with the way that he has played through the first eight seasons, I think it is, of his NFL career? I think that part does play a little bit of factor into the compensation.
3 years of Maxx Crosby's remaining prime and the energy and the attitude that he brings into a room and the identity that he gives your defense. I think whatever team ends up with him is going to be very happy with how it turns out if he can stay healthy. Lastly, A.J. Brown. Albert reports that the camp has done, quote, recon on potential landing spots and which ones have the most interest. So Howie Roseman continues to quietly have talks, according to Breer, and Brown's side is ruminating on all this and trying to figure out if leaving Philadelphia is best for him and his career. You hearing anything over there in Philly, James?
Yeah, I know the compensation. I'm not going to put it out there yet. I don't think anybody really is.
Come on.
Well, I think it's part of Howie's strategy, and it's where he needs to be, right? It's how he needs to be all the way up here. He knows he's not getting all the way up here because he'll never go back. So he knows he's going to have to come down, but the asking price is through the roof right now. I mean, it really is. And teams are just going to kind of wait this a little bit because Howie's not going to give him away. He really isn't. Now, I do know that there are some things in AJ's side of it that go, I'm not going back there. I think Philly thinks there's a chance he could possibly come back, but I do think the most likely thing is he departs. The other part that I would look at with AJ is, and Steve Smith and I were having this conversation. I trust Steve obviously on receivers. He's like, I don't know if we ever are going to see better football from AJ in the rest of his career, from where he's at with the knee that he's managed his whole career and the age that he's getting towards. But I will say it's a very tradable contract. And the other part, I had a conversation with Nick Sirianni at the Combine about this. I think if AJ goes, you are going to see a volume receiver in Devontae Smith. Nick thinks the world of Smitty. Like he told me, he's like, I don't think there's anything he can't do on a football field. I could see Devontae Smith sliding into a high volume receiver type role like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I really can. I think Philly can see that. Now, they're not pushing AJ out the door, but I think that makes the move much more manageable when you have a guy who many people around the league believe is a 1.
Yeah, I think when the Seahawks moved on from DK Metcalf, it raised eyebrows, but it could be a similar situation. Like, I would ask you this, like, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, are they in a good place together? Is there any part of that that's part of this?
Yeah, there's definitely a part of that. And I think it might have a little bit more to do, Mark, with football than maybe people think. I think AJ believes he can't run everything he wants to run with the offense that they run with Jalen Hurts. Now, it will be different, I believe. Nick told me that with Sean Mannion coming in. It's going to be a different offense, but I do think there's part of that. And I do think we hit our breaking point. When AJ's been frustrated, he's been frustrated dating back to last year. I remember him and I last year looking in his locker at the book together and everything underlined and him letting me take pictures of the book. But once it got onto the field, Mark, that's when it became a problem. Like the back end of the season, his frustration actually looked like it started to impact his play for the first time. And then I think that's when you start to have maybe a stronger stance on making a move.
Right. Patriots makes so much sense. You get him out of your conference. The Patriots desperately need that guy to put the offense to the next level with your young star quarterback. I love that as a landing spot, and we'll see if the Pats make an aggressive move. They were aggressive trying to get a top receiver last offseason, and they had to settle for Stephon Diggs. I could see this player, Brown, replacing Stephon Diggs in their offense, and away they go. And Sassy, come on. We got Palmer here. Jimmy Palms is here.
Yeah.
He hints that he knows the trade compensation parameters. I need your help, bro. I need you to jump in and put some pressure on Jimmy Palms.
Yeah, no, if we're going to aggregate your multiple buttocks-related comments, we certainly would aggregate
That's
trade
what I mean.
compensation.
I need
for
the
Palmer.
Sessy to use his powers of human manipulation.
I
Get in
demand,
there.
James,
Dig
that you
in.
give us. I demand that you give us the trade compensation right now.
No, I'll give it to you off camera.
Well, that satisfies my curiosity.
No, we were going to get that anyway. Sessy, we need it for the people.
Life's about
it's about the show.
compromises, boys. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Never mind. Life's about your show.
Shit. All right. Good stuff. James Palmer, you've said it all.
I think we have.
Where else can the people find you other than this fair program?
Oh, man. This is draft season, baby. So 89 is in full force. We just had our Smitty big board 2.0. Top 10 receivers in the league ranked up. That was a dynamite one. We got some more draft coverage and we're going to do free agents this week. We're going to break down Steve on the free agent wide receiver class. We're going to spend some time on each guy that he's interested in, and
we should have them on again soon.
You want us to come on as a tag team?
I think we have to do a crossover.
Yeah.
I think we did a very special Heed the Call 89 crossover.
If we could do that crossover and get JJ McCarthy to do the intro, that would just be.
We also, I have to do a check-in. I know I've had no real contact with him since that appearance, but I did ask Steve if he would be open to doing an RV trip across America with me. He flatly turned it down, but maybe he's in a different place now in his life and he'd be open to it. So that's.
Didn't you ask him when he was telling a story about how much he hated the RV trip that he took?
Maybe. I mean, maybe that's the problem. Maybe I shouldn't take it personally, but I do
would
remember
take
him deeply declining.
I think you could take it personally. I recall the conversation, and there was a deep level of disinterest.
Yeah, right. It wasn't something he was like, let me think on this. It was like, hell no. One of those things.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't want to
decisive.
quote him. It's been a while, but anyway.
Yeah, he RV'd the family across the country. I know he did that. It was touch and go.
A Heed the Call RV trip to Dallas for Justin's wedding. Hey, how come James didn't get invited to the wedding, by the way, Justin?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that before we say goodbye.
Why am I not invited?
How'd that happen? How'd that slip through the old crackos?
Mere oversight.
Wow, put me on the spot. Let me ask my fiance, and I'll get back to you.
Oof, puts it
pass
on.
the typical pass the buck. How many people do we have at this wedding? What are we seating?
We're trying to keep it to like 100, but we're gonna get more than that, I think.
I was trying to gauge my level of relationship with you. Like
he already sounds like an old married man, just passing the buck to the wife.
Justin, he told me, you can bleep this out, but he told me that they're in that understandable place where you're hoping like 20 people say they can't come because you've overbooked the flight.
More like 70, but yeah.
Yeah.
What if I promise not to eat?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's.
By the way, Daddy got the invitation, and Daddy checked off steak.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. Mark, what's the deal? You haven't RSVP'd yet? Did you get it? Like
I haven't
Dan
checked my mail
RSVP'd.
in like 3 days, but I will.
Mark
I'll go.
hasn't.
When
I'll
in
go
doubt,
gather
Mark will
today.
say that his mail system doesn't work, and
Yeah.
and that usually works for him to buy him some time.
Right. I was wondering if you were deciding
passing
what
the buck
food you
here.
wanted,
Right.
or if you just.
I'm pondering for the third straight day what food item I'm going to suggest I check off. Yes.
That's what I thought.
Mark likes to present downtown Los Angeles or Hollywood as like being in Ted Kaczynski's cabin in terms of how to get things to him. It's very unpredictable what will arrive and what won't arrive typically.
Well, you construct it mentally any way you want. My mail system works. I just haven't picked it up as a person.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thank you guys.
We'll be in
It was a
touch
bit of a
down the
downer
line.
at the end here. I think you guys are going to have a really great time. When's the wedding?
Well, if Justin gets his wish and 70 people RSVP no, maybe James can slide in.
Yeah. Oh,
You know, you
man.
can kick James
Come on,
over to
baby.
the old.
Yeah, put me at
He
the
can stay in the
Kick
RV
him.
with us, though.
Hit me with
We
the
could bring
mutants
him.
at table 9. Yeah, I'll stay in the RV the whole
Yeah.
time.
The mutants
park
at
it out-
table 9.
We'll park the RV just, adjacent to the wedding. And as long as the RV has one of those horns that goes when it's rolling in.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
And while we're here, Justin, if you could refrain from seating us with the cousin with the drug habit and the uncle whose political views have distanced him from the group, and your fiance's brother-in-law that everyone hates, just if we can do that, that'd be great.
I didn't get an invite, and her brother-in-law got an invite?
Right, which would be weird, which would mean she's married. Yeah, so
It's
None of those three people you just described exist in my family, so we're good. You don't have to worry about sitting with them.
Mark's like, no, sit me next to the active drug user. He's like, all
Three
right,
less people I got to compete with.
Depends what he's brought to the event.
all right, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday. Till then, do what you got to do. Heed the call.